We are really starting to settle in and get used to all of the many changes that recently happened with our family. One, we moved into our new home here at our farm in the middle of December. And then just a couple of months later, we welcomed our 8th little baby into our families. There's just been a lot of adjustments, and it is starting to really feel like home here, and we are adjusting well to becoming a family of 10, and we are just getting back into our normal routine around here. This week I thought it would be fun to bring the camera around and just show you some of the different meals that I'm making for my family. And this first meal, I am making a shrimp pasta, some garlic cheddar herb biscuits, and then my daughter is making some banana pudding. In fact, she's actually going to be making the sauce for the shrimp pasta. She loves making like a creamy pasta sauce, and so she has been helping a lot with meal planning. Not that I'm even asked her to, she just loves doing that. She's always wanting to plan the next meal, and she'll add things to the Walmart order and make different meals for the family, which is super great. I love whenever she does that. And so on this particular week, she got all the things to make a creamy shrimp pasta. And then I decided to make some freshly milled garlic herb biscuits. And then she has been wanting to make banana pudding. It's kind of funny because she has had bananas to our Walmart order so many times. Before she gets around to making the pudding, they're almost always gone because the little boys will get to them and eat them. But she actually hid them this time. And so she has ripe bananas, and she made homemade freshly milled vanilla wafers. I didn't get any clips of her making those, but you can see them sitting there on the counter. They were really delicious. I actually have the recipe on my cast iron skillet cooking blog. And so she made those from scratch, and then she made some homemade vanilla pudding with our fresh milk from the farm and our farm fresh eggs. And so this turned out to be like a dessert, but also like a superfood with all of the ingredients that she used. It was so good. Oh, she also made some homemade whipped cream with the cream off the milk. Very good. And I'm sure she'll be making it again because everybody loved it. With the days getting longer and the temperatures warming up, I find that we end up being outside way later than we are in the wintertime. And sometimes it kind of pushes dinner a little bit later and even bedtime later, but I don't mind because it is such a fun time in the evening when my husband is finished up with all of his work and we can all be outside playing or working on some type of project outside. And so what I try to do this year round, but definitely this time of year, is do a lot of my cooking for dinner during my kids' afternoon nap time. So my 2 youngest boys and obviously the baby girl all are napping at this time. And then anybody that's awake can be doing reading or just having some free time. And my daughter and I are usually in the kitchen cooking. And this really makes the evening time go so much smoother. I love whenever I don't have to worry about making dinner after the kids are awake, because usually after nap time, that's the time of day where I just want to sit down, play with the kids, or do something outside and not have to think about anything. Now, this doesn't happen every single day, but on days when we're home and nap time all aligns, that's what I like to try to do. And it just makes our evening so much less stressful, and we can really enjoy some family time in between nap time and then sitting down for dinner.
The milk. I would just put it on one of the shelves. I'll find somewhere,
Whenever I was younger, I went to my grandma's house once a week and we would cook meals. And I remember telling her the first thing I wanted to learn to cook was banana pudding. Now, my grandma didn't do everything from scratch, and so I'm sure I learned with box vanilla pudding and box vanilla wafers. But all in all, anytime I have banana pudding, I always think of her. And I was actually telling my daughter that story whenever she was making up this banana pudding. All right, so for this next meal, I am making some venison Salisbury steak and some mashed potatoes, and then I'm going to make a gravy and steam up some peas to go with this. I didn't necessarily have a plan for dinner on this day, which is like most days. When I say meal planning, I don't really meal plan. I try to keep meat defrosted in the refrigerator, and then when I get to mealtime, there's always meat defrosted and ready to go. I don't necessarily know what I'm gonna be making with that meat when I put it in the refrigerator, but I usually come up with something. And so on this particular day, I had a couple pounds of ground venison. And so originally I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll make some chili or some soup, but I wanted to make something different. And so I just Googled really quick, like, you know, common recipes or recipes with ground beef. I don't put ground venison because that's not as common. And Salisbury steak popped up. And so I was like, okay, that's something that I can make. I had all the things. And so obviously I made these with venison instead. And as I do with any recipe, I always tweak it a bit to fit better to my family needs and also just with what ingredients I have on hand. I find that that's how I do a lot of my cooking. I like to get an idea and then I typically change it because I don't always have everything that a recipe calls for, or I think of a way that I think I would like it better or want to try it in a different way. So that's kind of my way of cooking, my way of meal planning is just having a refrigerator, a freezer, pantry stocked with all of the staples, I guess, and then being able to come up with meals from there. So on this day, Salisbury steaks, mashed potatoes with some gravy, steamed vegetables is what is going on the table for dinner. I am loving this oven of mine. It has 6 burners and I can get so much more skillets and pots on here than I could on my last stove. I love that it's wider. And you guys see that I oftentimes have more than one skillet going because I am cooking for a larger family. I have to usually make several skillets of whatever I'm making. I oftentimes have people say or ask why I don't make a lot of food, and it's because, well, 1, I do make a lot of food. 2, I don't always show both skillets going because I feel like you don't need to see me making the same thing like 20 times. But on this stove, I can actually make things all at once because I have more room. Even though like I only have 2 skillets right now, I felt like on my last stove, if I was using my 2 big cast iron skillets, they would like bump into each other, or definitely couldn't like boil potatoes in the middle. And so this one's making it a lot easier to cook on. And then also the oven space is wider so I can fit more pans in, which is super nice whenever you're cooking for 10 people. One thing that I try to keep on hand are frozen vegetables. It's just an easy way to add a vegetable into a meal. My kids mostly prefer peas and green beans or carrots, and so those are typically what I have, and then I will just steam them up and it makes it for a good easy side, and then also just another way to get some more veggies into your meals. You guys all know that I strive to make healthy, nourishing food for my family, and after having a baby, I am focusing on trying to get extra protein, lots of calcium, and healthy fats. I didn't realize how little of protein I was actually getting into my diet until I started tracking it, and thanks to today's video sponsor, Lose It, they make that very simple to do. Lose It is an app that is so simple to use that can help you reach your goals and stay on track. In the app, you can log food either by searching, using a barcode, or even voice logging it. It only takes about 30 seconds, and you can see your daily and weekly calorie and macro tracking. On the dashboard, they make it really easy for you to see your progress by your tracking visuals and your goals. So far, every food that I've logged, they have been able to pick up and find. So they have a really big database. So it truly is the easiest way to do your macro tracking and protein and carbs and fiber, all of the things. It has different nutrition strategies with custom calorie and macro goals for different approaches. So whether you are on like a balanced diet, paleo, low carb, they have something for everyone. The advanced insights and trends give weekly reports and pattern insights. So if you're wanting a simple way to track what you're eating and reach your goals, be sure to go to my link, tryloseit.com/hourlyhouse, and try premium. You can also get that link down in my description box below. All right, for this next meal, I am making a pizza soup. This has become a family favorite. My kids, my older 3 kids, had an opportunity to go to Colorado with my parents for a week to do some skiing. And before they left, my mom had the idea of my daughter and also a couple of my nieces that were going as well they had like a baking cooking day to make all of their meals for the trip, and then froze them so when they got to the trip, they didn't have to do any cooking. And one of the meals that they made was a pizza soup. And I don't even know if I've ever heard of it before, but I definitely had never had pizza soup before. And so I really wanted to try it. So I looked up a quick recipe. Again, I changed it. I didn't have any pepperoni, but I had bacon. And so I'm making a pizza soup, and everybody loved it. So we have already made this like 3 or 4 times. It's become a staple, super easy to make. I can make it all in one pot. And so if you've never had pizza soup, be sure to check out the recipe. I'll link it for you guys down below. This is a crowd pleaser, super easy to make, easy to double if you're making it for a crowd. We will definitely be making this for many meals to come. This next meal, I'm making some creamy garlic chicken. This meal was inspired by some organic chicken thighs that were on sale at my local Walmart. I don't go to the store too often these days. I've been getting into the Walmart pickup or not really pickup, the Walmart delivery. That's kind of a newer thing for me. I was late to the game on that. I really enjoy shopping. I like going out. I'm very extroverted. But with the more kids I have and schedule's busier, I found that it's very convenient to have my groceries delivered to me. My sisters have been trying to convince me of this for I don't know, however long it's been out. They probably got on it right away. And it's been a thing that I was like, I love grocery shopping. I'm always gonna grocery shop. And I do still enjoy grocery shopping. It's just that this is so much more convenient. But I ended up at the grocery store for something, I'm not even sure what it was, but I found these chicken thighs on sale, and so I had to pick them up, and so that's what inspired this meal. I am just doing some Italian seasoning, salt and pepper, and some flour on these, and I'm going to pan fry them, and then I'll make a creamy garlic sauce to put the chicken back in and let them finish cooking in the sauce. For this sauce, I sauteed some garlic, added in some broth and some cream, lots of seasonings, a little bit of butter, and then just scraping the pans of the chicken bits and then adding this chicken back in. This was super easy, and again, a one dish wonder. I love being able to make meals that only require one dish. It just really helps with dishes and obviously clean up afterwards. So that's always my goal, is to find things that I can make that don't require a lot of dishes. And this was a really easy, delicious meal. So we'll definitely be making this one again. I decided to make some scalloped potatoes to go with this. So I got a creamy sauce going on my stove, peeled and sliced up my potatoes and some onions, and I just layered the potatoes, onions, and sauce into a baking dish and then let this cook until the potatoes were nice and tender. Several of my kids said they have never had this before. This is something that I don't really make often. I think I just forget about it, but they all loved it, so I'll probably be making this again. It went really well with the creamy chicken that I made. And again, it was super easy and something that's really nice to prep ahead of time. I just stuck this in the oven, let it bake, and then I just turned the oven off and left it in there to stay warm until we were ready to eat dinner. All right, this last thing I'm showing you guys isn't really a meal. I had some leftovers, and so we ended up eating some of these deviled eggs to go with our leftovers. But this was actually filmed the week of Easter, and so I hard-boiled up 6 dozen eggs so that the kids could all have a bunch of eggs to dye for Easter. And then after they were done with all their fun of dyeing the eggs, I turned them all into deviled eggs. I just made up a batch of homemade mayonnaise, mixed in some mustard and salt and pepper, and then mixed that all up and then added them back into the egg to make some deviled eggs. The kids were obviously very involved in this one. They were so excited to see which eggs were theirs. They all wanted to help peel their eggs and wanted to make sure that they knew which eggs were theirs whenever I was putting them back on the pans. They get really excited about that. So this is just kind of showing you the deviled eggs that I made. And like I said, this went along with some leftovers. And then we obviously had a bunch more that we left in the fridge. My kids all love hard-boiled eggs, deviled eggs, and it's something that I like to make for a snack. So having this type of thing in the refrigerator is really good so the kids can have a healthy, high-protein snack whenever they need it in between meals. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Maybe got some new meal inspiration. Let me know in the comments below what some of your favorite meals are that you've been making. I love having some new fresh ideas. And if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. I get out a new video every single week.